All right, today we're jumping into a topic that feels, well, pretty much settled, right? Smoking. But we're going to look at it through a really fascinating and honestly, super counterintuitive lens. All thanks to a video from the creator Desevi that asks a pretty wild question.
What if everything we've been told about smoking is just wrong? The source material we're diving into today actually builds this seemingly scientific argument for the upsides of smoking, pulling from all sorts of studies. So let's just walk through the case it makes.
So here's how the argument gets started. The source begins by laying out several so-called benefits of smoking. And the crazy part is, each one is backed up with a reason that, at first glance, almost kind of makes sense. It feels like an argument designed to tell people exactly what they want to hear.
Okay, first up on the list of supposed benefits, get this, smokers are way less likely to need knee replacement surgery. I mean, on the surface, that sounds like a pretty clear win for your health, doesn't it?
But, and this is a huge but, here's the catch, the source points out. The real reason smokers don't need that surgery is because their lungs are often too damaged to even participate in sports. It's pretty simple. No running, no jumping, no sports injuries. All of a sudden, that benefit is actually the direct result of a pretty devastating harm.
All right, let's look at benefit number 2. The source brings up something many of us have noticed or heard, that smokers tend to be thinner than non-smokers. It suggests this means they have a lower risk of obesity. And once again, the source peels back the curtain on this twisted logic. It's not some kind of metabolic magic trick. It's because smoking literally damages your sense of taste. So food just isn't as enjoyable. And when your food tastes like cardboard, you're probably going to eat less of it.
And that brings us to what the source presents as maybe the most shocking and honestly the darkest health claim of them all.
Okay, let's just pause here for a second, because this is where the logic gets seriously twisted. The claim is that smokers are more likely to survive a heart attack, and the reason why is just horrifying. Look at the table. Their heart attacks happen so much earlier, in their early 30s, not their 50s or 60s. A 30-year-old's body is just naturally stronger and better able to handle that kind of trauma than a 60-year-old's. You survive because the disaster happens decades before it should. It's a terrifying thought.
The final health benefit we're going to look at from the source is a cosmetic one. The idea that smokers often have clearer skin, with less acne.
The catch here, as the source explains, is actually pretty grim. You see, acne is your immune system fighting back against bacteria. That's what causes the inflammation. But for smokers, the immune system is often so suppressed that it can't even be bothered to put up a fight. No fights, no inflammation, no pimples. It's clear skin because your body has basically given up.
So we've gone through these bizarre individual health points, but the argument doesn't stop there. It gets bigger, expanding into economics, and believe it or not, it gets even more chilling, with the source citing a real-world corporate study.
First, the source establishes a quick economic idea. Cigarettes are what's called an inelastic good. It's basically a fancy term for a product that people will keep buying no matter how much the price goes up. This makes it a golden goose for governments, who can slap huge taxes on it and get a steady stream of cash.
And this brings us to the absolute coldest point of the entire argument. The source highlights an actual study done by Philip Morris for the Czech government. The study's conclusion was that the government saves money because of smoking. Why? Because smokers die early, so the state doesn't have to pay for their pensions, their late-life health care, or housing for the elderly. A net financial positive built on premature death. Just wow.
So after all of this, these weird health claims, the cold economic arguments, we finally get to the real message of the whole video. Because right here is where the entire thing flips on its head. After building this whole case, fewer knee surgeries, less obesity, a better chance of surviving a heart attack, and even saving the government money, the source finally asks the big question. Does all this mean smoking is actually a good idea? And the answer is an emphatic, absolute no. Of course not. The entire argument was a house of cards. It was a brilliant satirical setup. The creator wasn't actually making a case for smoking, they were making a case against the kind of twisted, broken logic that lets us justify the unjustifiable. And this slide just lays the whole method bare. It's perfect. Every single benefit that was presented is directly tied to a significant, life-altering harm. This isn't a list of pros and cons. It's a list of tragedies masquerading as benefits.
And that's the real lesson here, the one the source is trying to drive home. It's that some costs, well, you just can't put them on a spreadsheet or twist them into a health claim. There's a much deeper equation at work.
The ultimate takeaway is that a true understanding of cost has to look beyond the surface data. The real costs aren't in these statistics. They are the unquantifiable things. The value of 10 extra years with your family, the creative work someone never got to finish, the human potential that was just lost.
And so the source leaves us with this final, powerful question. It's a challenge to remember that behind every number, there's a human story, and that the most important costs in our lives are often the ones we can never, ever measure.